Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I call to order a meeting between the mayor and city council of the city of Havre Grace. The date is April 5th, 2021. The time is now 7 p.m. I will call the roll. Sorry. Council President Glenn.
Here.
Councilmember Ringsager.
Here.
Councilmember Zinner.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Robertson.
Here.
Councilmember Boyer. Thank you very much. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and the opening prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I could kindly ask everyone to remain standing for just a few more moments, I'd like to call forward Evangelist Gene Proud, the Proud Evangelistic Association. Sir, honor to have you here. Welcome.
It's an honor to be here, Mr. Mayor. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this time together. And we thank you in advance for what we've going to see you do through these people who you've put in charge over us for our safekeeping and our protection. Grant them the wisdom to understand what is wisdom and what's just fear, and to know the difference and to choose wisely between them. We ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Reverend Proud, thank you so much, sir. Item 5 on this evening's agenda, approval of the minutes, the council meeting minutes of March 15th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve, council?
So move.
Sorry. I have a motion by Councilmember Zinner, seconded by Councilmember Martin. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Council meeting minutes of March 15, 2021 carry 5-0 in the affirmative. We're going to go to item number 6, comments from citizens on agenda items. This is the part of the council meeting. If you wish to speak on any item that's on the agenda, this is a good time to do it. If you happen to be here this evening because you want to speak on any other business of the city or a city matter, we have at the end of the agenda this evening comments from citizens. So if you do want to speak on something that's on the agenda, this is a good time to do it. Before I call on the audience at large, I do have 2 forms that were pre-filled out and sent to me, and I will call on those 2 individuals first. After I call on those 2 individuals, I'll take anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on an agenda item. So I will start with Miss Kathy Keene. Good evening and welcome to the council meeting. May you please have your name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Kathy Keene, 205A Seneca Way, Havre Grace.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I'm Vice Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. And I'm here to speak tonight in support of Ordinance 1049. This ordinance is to amend City Code 205-9 to establish maximum setbacks and prohibit front-load garages on certain streets. I commend the Director of Planning, Mr. Grimm, for bringing this forward to the council. The purpose of this ordinance, as stated, is to preserve our historic streetscapes. So regarding the maximum 5-foot setbacks, in case people in the audience might not understand what a setback is, that's just the distance that a house is set back from the right-of-way. I was under the impression that it was a sidewalk, but I was corrected. It's not from the sidewalk, is from the city the right-of-way, which is farther back than the sidewalk. And this part of the ordinance applies to all streets within our historic district. There are some exceptions, and this only has to do with new construction. So if there's an empty lot in our historic district, or if, sadly, somebody demolishes an old house to put another house there, this would apply to them. And the exceptions are if it conflicts with utilities, of course, that would be an exception. And another exception would be if all the other buildings on the street are already set back more than 5 feet. Or if there's really no consistent setback on that particular block. Those would be some exceptions. The front-loading garages, this applies, of course, only to new construction, and it only applies to Union Avenue, Congress Avenue, and Washington Street. Now, this means that somebody who's building a house on one of these streets, they usually want, what's kind of popular right now and trendy, is a 2-car garage right in the front on the same, the same distance, like parallel to the main dwelling. Okay, that wouldn't be permitted. And it wouldn't be permitted only if that property, that particular lot, did not have any access to an alley. A lot of our lots do have access to alleys, either on the side or on the back, or another lane or side street. For instance, Miss Boyer's house, she hasn't built a new house. She has a 2-car garage. Her house is in the front, and her garage is on the side, on a side street, which is perfectly fine. Let's see, anything else about this? Now, if somebody does have to put a front-loading garage right next to their house on one of these streets, it has to be set back at least 15 feet from the main dwelling, which is very reasonable. And I'll go into the reasons for all this, but I just want the public to understand what we're talking about. So we all love our beautiful tree-lined streets. Just picture this, with the vintage homes sitting uniformly in a row. Historically, houses were set a consistent distance from the sidewalk in a pattern that is pleasing to the eye. Now, a house from new infill construction that is set farther back from the neighboring houses would disrupt the flow of the streetscape and eventually create a hodgepodge look that is unappealing. Now, about the front-loading garages, these, I think even more so, disrupt the continuity of the block because of their mass, and their large garage doors are so inconsistent with the homes next to them. Other cities, such as Frederick and Annapolis, they have similar restrictions in their zoning code to these front-facing garages in historic districts, and also these different setbacks. So I feel that this is a very reasonable ordinance. I mean, personally, I think we should extend it to more streets, but I think it's a good start, and I think it's a very reasonable ordinance to help preserve the streetscapes in Havre de Grace's historic district. And I urge the council to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Keene. The second sign-up citizen I have to speak this evening is Delane Lewis. Welcome to the City Council meeting. May we have your name and address for the record?
Good evening. I'm not used to double masking, so it's a little muffled. I just want to start by saying I'm here on behalf of Upper Chesapeake Bay Pride Festival, and I want to thank the mayor and the council very much for their support last year when we had to pivot. We were so disappointed not to be able to do an in-person event. We switched to a virtual event, and all I can say is that I don't know if we're fearless or stupid or both, but 2 years in a row, we've done some pretty amazing things, and I'm really proud of us. And now we are looking forward, really hopefully, this year to the fall, with the hope that we will be able to return to an in-person event. All fingers and toes crossed. I know that there's an asterisk next to that in terms of what we will be able to do or not able to do, but we're very excited that the permit is before y'all today and, asking for your support of it. I also wanted to take this opportunity, we have a transition happening on the board of Upper Chesapeake Bay Pride, and while I will remain on it, we have a new president, and I'd like to introduce Sue Knaus. Sue is a resident of Havre de Grace. She has been with the festival since day one, so she knows what's going on. She's hitting the ground running. She is really smart. She is an architect, but she has a great IT job where she works for the Department of Veterans Affairs. I think I have that right? So she's a phenomenal human being and also has had a lot of experience working on similar type projects when she was in Oklahoma, right? So we are really lucky that she's agreed to take this on, and we'll still be working together, but I definitely wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Sue.
Please, absolutely, Sue. Go ahead, the microphone is yours.
Hi,
Welcome.
I'm Sue Knaus, and I'm at 552 Fountain Street, and I'm a proud resident of Havre de Grace. I love being here. I take lots of pictures on my morning run to show everybody, and everybody asks what kind of postcard you live in, and I said Havre de Grace. So I love it. My son goes to school here, and I'm just thrilled to have had the first Pride Festival here in Hartford and Cecil County. We were blown away by the attendance, the support from the community, from the businesses, everybody. And so we just can't encourage you enough to keep it here, keep it home where it belongs in Havre de Grace. So please, I hope you consider approving the permit for our festival. We're going to do everything we can to keep it safe based on the guidelines at that time. So I hope you consider approving it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you.
And is Phil here? Not sure. Yeah, he's coming in a little later, but I did just want to take this opportunity to really thank St. John's Episcopal Church, who is our local sponsor for the event, and I believe that Mr. Price will be here later to also express his support for it. So, okay, great, wonderful. Thank you all so much. And
Thank you, Delane. Thank you. Okay, so those were the two pre-filled out form speakers for comments on agenda items. At this time, I'll take any citizen at large who wishes to speak. Okay, yes, sir. Welcome to the council meeting. May I please have your name and address for the record?
Good evening. Yes, Jim Thornton, P.O. Box 471, Churchfield, Maryland. To Mayor Martin, Council President Glenn, members of the City Council, and to the citizens of Havre de Grace. I am here this evening on behalf of the Sergeant Alfred B. Hilton Memorial Fund Committee, Inc., which is chaired by your county council member, Councilman Curtis Beulah. He sends his regrets. He's unable to be with us this evening. I co-chair or serve as vice chair of that committee. I'm joined here also this evening by one of the committee members, Dwight Perry, as well. We as a committee, all volunteers, have the honor of helping to educate the public here in Hartford County and across the region about the service and sacrifice of Hartford County's only native-born Medal of Honor recipient. On behalf of the committee, I would like to thank you, all of you, for providing an amazing site for the placement of a memorial to honor the life and service of Sergeant Havre B. Hilton. Tonight, however, I'm here requesting your support and approval of an application to host a groundbreaking ceremony in honor of the planned memorial in Titans Park on May 14, 2021. Just briefly, Sergeant Hilton was wounded while carrying the U.S. flag as the honor bearer, and later shot, wounded in that conflict, and then picked up the regimental colors during the Battle of New Market Heights, Virginia, on September 29, 1864, during the Civil War. The story of his bravery while serving with Company H, the 4th USCT, United States Colored Troops, is becoming widely known, and we are committed as an organization to get that story told even more so. We think it will be a destination spot for Havre de Grace. We're very excited about your support of this particular initiative. So in closing, we'd like to thank again Mayor Martin, Council President Glenn, members of the Havre de Grace City Council, your Chief of Staff, Mr. Gamatoria, and most recently, your Director of Public Works, Mr. Tim Whitty, and many others who are working with us to make this project a reality. Our goal is to unveil the memorial Veterans Day, November 11th, 2021. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate being here to speak on that behalf. Who else in the audience wishes to speak on an agenda item? Okay. Any comments from the council?
Good.
Okay. Mr. Seibold?
No, I have a couple.
He's got a couple.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of comments that I received from some of our citizens who couldn't make it here this evening. The first is from Mr. Joseph Kirkendorfer, 819 Tidings Road, Havre de Grace. Good evening. There are some license agreements on the agenda for 5 April, and there have been some others in the fairly recent past. Since these generally have had to do with city property right away, council approval is needed to grant them. However, it is my opinion that before council acts, these license agreement requests should be reviewed by the Planning Commission at an open meeting for the Commission's review and recommendation. It has been my perception that this is not often the case, and only a recommendation by the Council Planning Committee or just the Department of Planning is noted. Just having the City Council act unilaterally lacks, in my opinion, transparency. I'm not expressing heartburn on those on the agenda, but without review of the Citizens Commission, political issues could come into play. The council has selected persons on the Planning Commission who should be looking into any kinds of land use in the city, and council should take advantage of the commission's input and expertise on such issues. I've heard stated from the dais that all of us are smarter than one of us. So I encourage use of the folks appointed. The commission does not have the power to grant license agreements, but their input would be insightful and comforting. Also have a comment about Ordinance 1049. This is from Jean Montgomery Johnson, 666 Chesapeake Drive. I support the proposed revisions of subsection 205-9, height, lot, yard, townhouse, and cottage dwelling requirements in Ordinance 1049. These proposed revisions create reasonable design guidelines for setbacks and front-facing garages in part of Havre de Grace, National Register Historic District, NRHD, protecting both homeowners' investments and our community's substantial historic assets. Also, the ordinance would protect the present and future of the iconic streets of Union, Congress, and Washington. Reasonable, well-crafted ordinances like 1049 ensure steady property values, consistently a feature of communities that value the economic and social benefits of historic preservation. And then finally, I have a comment from William Price, 200 South Stoke Street in Havre Grace. Please read into the record that the vestry of St. John's Episcopal Church of Havre Grace voted unanimously to support sponsorship of the Upper Chesapeake Bay Pride Festival to be held October 9th. And they are the comments I received for tonight's meeting, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seipel, for reading those comments into the record. Okay, we are going to move on to item number 7 this evening, which is appointments. We have a handful of appointments this evening. We're going to start off with Council President Glenn, who has 2 reappointments to the Board of Elections. Council President?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to reappoint both Bruce Ashman and Brenda Mergler to the Board of Elections.
Council, I have a motion by the Council President. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Martin. This is for the reappointment of Bruce Ashman and Brenda Mergler to the Election Board of, keep on saying Election Commission, the Board of Elections. Thank you, Council President. The Board of Elections. Questions or comments?
I got one.
Council President?
Mr. Mayor, these are 2 dedicated individuals who for years have served on the Board of Elections, and I reach out to my fellow council members in hopes of getting favorable consideration for their reappointment.
Thank you very much, Council President. Any other further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The reappointment of Bruce Ashman and Brenda Mergler to the Board of Elections is approved by council, 5-0 in the affirmative. We're going to go to item B, Historic Preservation Commission reappointment of Mr. Robert Green, and I will refer to Councilmember Zinner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to reappoint Mr. Robert Green to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Zinner, seconded by Councilmember Robertson. This is for the reappointment of Mr. Robert Green to the Historic Preservation Commission. Do I have any questions or comments? Councilmember Zinner?
I just want to thank Mr. Green again for putting himself forward as a volunteer on this commission and for another reappointment term. Mr. Green is very interested in historic preservation and brings a lot to the commission, and we're very happy to have him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Good. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. The reappointment of Robert Green to the Historic Preservation Commission carries 5-0 in the affirmative. Item C, we have a new appointment to the Tourism Advisory Board. Councilmember Martin.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I make a motion to appoint Greg Pizzuto to the Tourism Advisory Board of Havre de Grace.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Martin, seconded by the Council President. This is for the appointment of Mr. Greg Pizzuto to to the Tourism Advisory Board. Questions or comments? I'll start with Councilmember Martin.
I'm hoping to get a favorable review for this. He will be a welcome addition to the Tourism Advisory Board. Greg has established a great relationship with the Havre de Grace businesses and tourism department. He continues to provide funding and advertisement for Havre de Grace events through Visit Hartford and Hartford County. So his continued working with us would be important.
Thank you, Councilmember Martin. Councilmember Robertson.
I'm just going to echo Councilmember Martin's comments that, it's really good to see that the city's getting such a good relationship with the county, both with EDAB. We have some EDAB members at the county level, and, with Visit Hartford, it's very important. We all have kind of the same mission, right? So, having everybody in that same bubble and working together is really great. And from what I understand from L'Oreal, Greg has been a great asset for the city in general.
Thank you, Councilmember Robertson. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The appointment of Mr. Greg Pizzuto to the Tourism Advisory Board carries 5-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, Council. And we're going to go to item 8, which is oath of office. So the reappointments do not need to take an oath, but the new appointments do. So I call forward Mr. Greg Pizzuto. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being willing to serve on our commission. We know you're a busy man, and you got a lot to do running tourism for Harford County, but I tell you what, we really appreciate your expertise and your time, and we always have appreciated your support. So thank you, Greg. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, sir. I'm going to hold the mic kind of like this. I'm going to say the word I. After I say I would like you to repeat the word I, but also say your name. Okay? I,
Greg Pizzuto,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will fulfill the requirement
that I will fulfill the requirement
of the office I'm about to assume,
of the office I'm about to assume,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland,
to the state of Maryland,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and the laws thereof,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
without fear of favor or prejudice,
without fear of favor or prejudice,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as a member of
as a member of
the Tourism Advisory Board of Havre de Grace
the Tourism Advisory Board of Havre,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my
Greg, excellent. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Step over here for me real quick, and we'll have you sign a couple papers. Okay. This one stays with the city's records. Okay. This is yours. This is for you to keep, sir, and everyone who steps up and serves the commission, I present with the flag of our city. Thank you very much. Again. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. Oh, sure, absolutely. I'm smiling. Okay, Greg, thanks again. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go to item number 9 this evening, which is recognition. This evening, we have no recognitions. Item 10, proclamations. We have one proclamation, and it is the Flood Safety Awareness Month, and I'm going to hand that off to Council President Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a proclamation entitled Flood Awareness Month. Whereas the city of Havre de Grace has experienced severe weather in the past in the form of extreme rainfall, hurricane system events, or other events resulting in flooding along the Chesapeake Bay, Susquehanna River, and their inland streams, Lily Run, Gashies Creek, Fountain Run. This flooding has caused damage to flood losses to homes and buildings in all areas, whether they are high-risk special flood hazard areas or low to moderate risk flood zones. And whereas the City of Havre de Grace is a voluntary participant in the National Flood Insurance Program that provides residents with the opportunity to protect themselves against flood loss through the purchase of flood insurance at reduced insurance premium rates, as well as to settling higher regulatory standards to reduce the flood risk and the potential flood damage to their property. And whereas the reduction of this loss of life and property damage can be achieved when appropriate flood preparedness, control, and mitigation measures are taken before a flood. Whereas public education and awareness of potential weather hazards and methods of protection are critical to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents. The City of Havre de Grace has declared the month of April 2021 as Flood Awareness Month to promote awareness and increase knowledge of flood risks, the availability of flood insurance, flood protection methods, and how to prepare for emergencies. Now, therefore, I, William T. Martin, Mayor of the City of Havre de Grace, along with the entire Havre de Grace City Council, in coordination with the Maryland Resiliency Partnership, do hereby proclaim April 2021 as Flood Awareness Month in the City of Havre de Grace, and further encourage the citizens of Havre de Grace to increase their knowledge of how to protect themselves and their property from flooding. Signed this day by the City Council and the Mayor of Havre de Grace.
Council President, thank you very much for reading that into the record. We're going to move on to item number 11, presentations. And this evening, we have a presentation, and it's the Discovery Center at Water's Edge. And I would like to proudly call up the presenters this evening and introduce themselves to the public, please.
Mr. Martin, how are you? Mr. Glenn Close, how are you, sir?
Good.
And to the other council members, you know me, Colonel Warleen Bryant, 205 Spectacular Beard Drive, Havre de Grace, Maryland.
Welcome. Great to see you again.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here. Not to talk about some stuff we're chosen, but I do want to just pause just for a moment to say congratulations to the Chief of Police, Teresa Walter. She was the 2021 Women History Month and Recognition Month recipient in the category of duty. So kudos to her for that award. I just want to take the time to share that with you. But tonight, I have a great group of CEs, subject matter experts, that are going to talk to you about our Science Center coming here in Harford County. So we're excited that the Tourism Board appointee is here. How appropriate, sir. This center will talk or do nothing but bring in science and technology and heritage. So here we know within the Aberdeen and the Havre de Grace area, we have nothing but STEM professionals. And this is all about our young people. This is all about our middle, our high school, and our elementary school students, as well as our college students. But most importantly, the community coming together to present a product, a center where they can come and put them an edge or a step above, we believe, in the STEM professionals and the STEM categories, so they can do some amazing work as they continue to grow. I'm going to turn it over to Charlie and to Joan, and they're going to present some information to you about the Science Center.
Thank you, Warleen. Hi, my name is Charlie Niedovitz. I reside actually at 2217 Titan Terrace in Havre de Grace.
Welcome.
And I'm really pleased and thank you for your time and appreciate the opportunity to give you a brief, just really a brief look at what we're excited about. Right? Warleen said it's the Science Center. It's a Discovery Center at Water's Edge with the byline, where science, technology, and heritage come together. You've probably seen, you've probably been at science centers. Well, this is a unique science center in the fact that we're located just outside the gates of Aberdeen Proving Ground. We're in a county, Harford County, Cecil County, Baltimore County, which provide the scientists, the engineers, the workers at Aberdeen Proving Ground, which form the basis of the mentorship that we can have in the Discovery Center for our young people. So the Science Center is the hands-on. It's science-driven exhibits, science-driven displays. They get our young folks excited about science. Science is hard, right? You know, math, science, it's hard. Let's get the young folks excited about it, and this is one way to do it. The technology pillar is another very interesting pillar. We have the opportunity here, because of our proximity to Aberdeen Proving Ground and the work that goes on at the Proving Ground in basic and applied research, for us to get a look at tomorrow's technology today. Not many places can do that. We've already contacted and are working with the centers at the Proving Ground, Army Research Lab for one, where we'll be bringing their basic research out to the public so we can see tomorrow's technology today. And then the third piece is the heritage piece, or the history piece. 100 years of Aberdeen Proving Ground, 100 years of technology coming to fruition, right? And what's amazing is you can go back 100 years ago, and dogs were being trained to sniff out chemical munitions. We're using that today. 1945, the first electronic digital computer ever built was built by the University of Moore School of Engineering and set up at Aberdeen Proving Grounds to do the calculation of the firing tables, right, which was needed during the Second World War. That machine was used in the Manhattan Project. I mean, that kind of history and technology, to bring that together. And if you take the computing line, we're working with supercomputers today. There's only 4 supercomputing centers in the Department of Defense. One of those is at Aberdeen Proving Ground. So the message is that it's more than just a science center, but it's all related, right? Next. I'm going to buzz through that one. I just want to, we have this happens because we have a lot of people working on it, all right? There's a list of executive committee, board members, advisory committee members, and consultants. You'll be hearing from Joan Mickle here shortly. The next. And actually, I preceded myself. I was going to explain all of this with this slide here, but I've already done that, okay, about the Science, Technology, and Heritage Center. This is a conceptual picture of what a 30,000 square foot facility might look like, in which we would have the exhibits, laboratories, classroom spaces, maker spaces, TED Talks, bringing people from the Proving Ground and other places to give science-related talks. This would be a place for, in the summer, where classrooms would be set up, and the young folks can come and have summer science programs. We believe it's a major tourist attraction. The impetus for this actually started when the Ordnance Center and School moved. 100,000, the Ordnance Center and School Museum attracted about 100,000 visitors per year, right? We sort of, hey, when that's gone, what's going to take its place? Then we realized we have the Army's technology mega base right here, with under BRAC, with C5ISR, with the communications folks coming here, with the test centers here, with the research lab here. It's quickly became a technology mega base. Again, what a perfect place to have a discovery center with that kind of support. So, a major tourist attraction, an anchor for the STEM program. You know, there's a lot of things going on, but where do you centralize that? Where can I get the information? We look to hopefully and it's very important, not to take over all the things that are going on. Can't do that. You don't want to do that. But this can be the central repository for things that are happening in the science arena and the STEM arena. It's an economic driver. We've had studies which said, and Joan's going to mention some of that. And it's playing a revitalizing role on the Route 40 corridor. And on that corridor, it's going to be at Water's Edge. And on the next chart, I'll show you how fortunate we are to be part of Jim Falk's vision for Water's Edge. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with Water's Edge and the service engineering firm that's there and other firms that are there. Well, he went on to expand his vision to, in the middle there, have a recreational area. Actually, for an older guy like myself, he's got 4 pickleball courts there, right? So, hey, go, Jim, all right? Next to that, where that circle is where our Phase 1 will be, all right? And the Phase 1 is a preview center. And again, Joan's going to talk a little bit more about that. But we're very fortunate to be partnering with Jim Falk on his vision and providing us a place. I mean, that was the hard part. We didn't have a place, okay? Now we have a place. Now we have still a lot of work to do. We want to bring that to your attention in terms of what we're doing, and also ask for your help, volunteers, getting the word out, and in any way that we can work with you on making this the regional center that we want it to be. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Joan Mickle, who will talk to you about the growth plan and where we're going. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joan Mickle. My company, Profile Partners, is the local consultant for this project. I've been before you before in my other capacity. I serve as vice president of the Havre Grace Green Team and site leader for the community garden over on Strawberry Lane now. So I am very happy to be here in this capacity as well. Yeah, Charlie likes for me to talk about the money, so I'm going to talk about the nuts and bolts of how we're going to do this. We have a 3-stage growth plan. As Charlie mentioned, we're opening a preview center this fall at the Water's Edge development. Then, in about 2 years, we're going to open a small-scale facility, about 10,000 square feet total of indoor and outdoor exhibits. And then 2026, this is based on our fundraising, of course, that's when we are looking to start construction on Phase 3, which is that freestanding science center that you saw before. Go to the next slide. This is the building. You've probably driven past it. One more click. That's what it's going to look like. You won't, it's going to have a picture on the outside of what it's going to look like on the inside. They have this great technology where you can wrap the buildings in vinyl. Next slide, please. And you can go one more. We're going to skip these in the interest of time, but these are some examples of, you can go ahead to the next one, of some exhibits and outdoor recreation we're going to have. One more. Okay. So before, as I said, I get to talk money. I first want to just talk about income. Science centers across the country are economic drivers in communities. Our feasibility study estimates that it's going to contribute $14 million a year into Harford County's tax revenue and create 180 direct and indirect jobs. For every $100 of economic activity, $220 is generated in the economy by science centers, and this is based on information from communities just like ours all across the country. Can you go to the next slide? So the next part of it is expenses. These are expensive propositions. Our first, and this slide really shows the different kinds of income that we and other science centers have. There's contributed income, which of course is grants and giving, earned, operational, and then capital campaigns. And right now we are launching a capital campaign to build Phase 2, which is a $3 million capital campaign. Once we're finished with that, we're going to go straight into our next capital campaign to raise between $25 and $30 million for the final large-scale facility. So you can go to the next slide, please. Our capital campaign is really going to be spent on building the exhibits, on expanding our community reach. This year, we are going to be having a big car show, which there's a lot of science in automotive technology. And so we're really excited to be partnering with a nonprofit on that. And then next year, we will have our Magic of Science Festival again. Next slide, please. And that's that. One more. And we want to just thank the people who have stepped up so far to help us with this project. One more. I guess in closing, we are really excited about this project. We want you to be excited with us. We want you to be enthusiastic about this. We hope this is just going to make an incredible impact on Harford County in a lot of ways. We want to partner with Havre de Grace organizations, Decoy Museum, Maritime Museum. We have a lot of cross-pollination between those groups and our groups in terms of volunteers. We are probably going to come to you to ask for your support in a letter form. We are applying to a lot of federal and state grants and looking to bring income in that way. And we are open to volunteers. So that is really our only ask tonight. We want your support. We want the people of Havre de Grace to know that they are welcome to come and join us and help us build this amazing community resource. So with that, I would want to invite people to send either, if you're interested in volunteering or you have any questions, please reach out to us. Our information is on that slide. Thank you.
Joan, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind, I would like to open up in case any council members have some questions.
Absolutely, yeah.
Jason, do you have a question? I'll start with you. Start with you first, Jason. Then I'll go to you second.
Hey.
Member Robertson.
Good evening, and thank you for the presentation. I thought I recognized a couple of you when you came in, so it's good to see you here in the chambers. Maybe I missed it. Is this related to the federal government with APG, or are you guys a private entity? Are you a business?
Thank you for asking that question. We are actually a 501c3 nonprofit. We are not part of the Army. We are not part of Aberdeen Proving Ground. We are also off-post. But we have very strong connections with Aberdeen Proving Ground. Almost our entire board are either former feds like myself and Charlie, or, well, that is,
Just one thing to add, you'll notice our website says APG Discovery Center.
Yeah.
Our name was APG Discovery Center. Right, and we were hanging with that because we wanted to have that association with the technology, with the people, right? But the problem it caused for us was exactly what you were saying, right? Well, is it on the proving it? No, it's off the proving it.
Right.
Well, is it funded by them? No, it's not funded by them. So we had to answer those questions. So we just recently, within the last month, made that decision to change it to the Discovery Center at Water's Edge.
No, that makes sense. So then my next question would be, you know, obviously you're applying for grants and everything. Are you, how are you coming up with the capital costs? Are you going to private equity about that, or are you trying to do some fundraisers or something?
yeah, so we have I guess I would say a multi-tiered fundraising plan that involves grants at the federal, state, and local levels, in addition to a corporate giving and sponsorship programs, and we have some smaller fundraisers as well. We are inviting people to join us as founding members. We call it the Founders Circle, where either an individual or a family can join us for a small amount of money and be part of the initial group of people who were part of this project in perpetuity.
Good. And one more question. Do you see this facility being something like the Maryland Science Center at the harbor, where it's, you know, customers can come in, you know, and explore for the day? Or do you see this as solely what you were focusing on with the classrooms and the STEM building and all that stuff?
This is very much like the Maryland Science Center, but smaller.
Yeah.
And also, I think, more local and more dynamic. We will be changing out exhibits quite frequently. So, yeah, I think it is much more of a, it's a space to play with science and technology.
And again, the uniqueness of it is from the standpoint that I mentioned that we're working with and talking to the Army Research Laboratory. Right? So we've already set up with them, and they're looking, when we open, and we hope to open in the fall of this year, there will be a display there of a prototype from what they're working on. That's the tomorrow's technology today, right? And it's not just the Army Research Lab, I mean, test centers, many major things. So again, in that sense, it's unique, and I think it's unique also from the historical standpoint.
So, but it's going to be somewhere that on a Saturday morning I can take my son, you know,
Yes.
down there. I don't have to be a member for a special event or anything like that.
No, this is
Exactly.
open to the public,
Okay.
just like the attractions in Havre de Grace.
Very cool. Thank you.
Councilmember Martin?
Very good, very informative. Have you tried to work with Harford County School Housing and Harford Community College on, because of the STEM programs they have and that Edenville up in North Harford area, something in that type of frame that you might interaction with the
Well, I appreciate that question. One of the things that we are really trying to do from the beginning is build our exhibits so they are embedded into the curriculum. We want them, the things that are happening in the Discovery Center to just align perfectly with what's happening in the classroom, but give children an opportunity to experience things that they wouldn't normally be able to experience in the classroom. So the answer to your question is yes. We are actually briefing the curriculum committee on Wednesday of this week at Harford County Public Schools, and we will be talking with Cecil County Public Schools as well. Harford Community College has been active as part of our organization for some time, and we are going to be talking with Dr. Felder next week.
And just one other thing in terms of the connection with the school. We ran a very successful under General Taylor's leadership at the Proving Ground. He had a Discovery Fest. We were part of that Discovery Fest with him and had the first Magic of Science fair, right? And it was a fair. Now, a lot of times a science fair with kids participating, you get a nice ribbon, you get a gold ribbon, you get a red ribbon. These prizes were $400 prizes. The winners of that science fair, first, second, and third places, left in effect with $400 and $200 prizes. And it was a connection with the school systems, right, and the teachers who got the word out, which got the students engaged, and the projects came out. It was fantastic. We were so looking forward to 2021. Actually, it was going to be at the Ripken Stadium. But that's what Joan had talked about in terms of next year, having that science fair where we absolutely have to be part of the school system.
And the final question I have is, the presentation you have, I noticed you gave craft recycle, so we need to keep a copy of that. So we can
Absolutely.
refer back to it.
Yes, and also our website, we have what's called a lookbook, and it's pretty much a 29-page presentation that goes into some detail on the kinds of exhibits and so forth that you can expect.
Any other questions from council?
I go on.
Council President?
Thank you for your presentation. We at the Havre Grace community are really, really excited that we just opened a new replacement school for our community.
Yeah.
And as part of that replacement school, we're getting our own magnet program. It's a computer science magnet program. Are you going to have any interaction at all with that type of program?
No, we haven't talked to the school system yet about that, but that is exactly what we would want to do, is have some connection with that. And that's a real gem that you're getting.
And you talk about the computer science program. With that connection, right, we could further that connection by connecting up with Aberdeen Proving Ground, the Army Research Lab, where, like I said, there's only 4 in the Department of Defense supercomputing centers. One of those is here. So you can extend that. You know, we can have, I envision potentially having kids run programs on supercomputers, right? These are the computers that have been used for the COVID research, right? Again, what we have here locally is so unique to us, and the connections that you just talked about are critical. So you don't want to just stop even with the connection between that and us, but we then connect with the Proving Ground, and it's a win for everyone.
Absolutely, and it goes further than just that magnet program. Again, we're really excited for the magnet program because for years we've been losing students to magnet programs with no magnet program for them to come to. So now we have one.
Yeah.
But they also have a biomed program, I think, at Havre Grace High School that would really be a plus as far as if you could capture and partner with that. And just
Appreciate
keep that in
that.
the back of your mind.
Yeah, I appreciate that very
forward.
much.
And we encourage those, you know, the people who are in charge of those things, you know, for our board of advisors to connect with us. We'll try and connect out with them. Simply said, we can't do it without those folks. We can't do it without those connections. Even a list, we just can't do it. So we need those connections. We need that expertise, and that's what we want to help put together.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
And we'll get back with you with your point of contact for your magnet school too. So we
Yeah,
can,
thank you.
Any
Thank you.
other questions from council? Councilmember Zinner, sorry.
Not so much a question as a comment. I did want to thank you for coming this evening, and I also had an opportunity to listen to the presentation that you all about.
Oh, good.
About 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was very interesting. A number of people that you have on the call, knowledgeable, and also I recognize some names out there on the call who are participating, volunteers, and other
Great.
capacity. The other thing is, I want to applaud you for your enthusiasm, but also your presentation last month, a pretty aggressive schedule to get yourself running with that building. And I also remember the science fair because I was to the meeting,
Oh.
science fair, and then I guess it was 2 weeks later, you know, we put it down for
Oh, yes.
how excited everybody was about the science fair and collateral information, enthusiasm, and the fact that it was going to be a great. And I want to thank you for being also that we're aware of
We, well, thank you. We do plan to have a couple more of those Zoom calls, and basically to introduce the project, but to also talk about specific topics in the project. STEAM, for instance. How do the arts play into a science center will be one of our topics coming up, so. And NASA.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
So I just want to thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for your presentation. I know we've been trying to get you on the agenda for a while now. And I'm good friends with Monica Worrell, and she always keeps me abreast of the progress of Discovery Center. And she did text me this evening, apologize she wasn't able to make it. You did mention former Major General Randy Taylor in your comments earlier. I know he was a huge supporter of the project, and huge supporter. And anything Randy Taylor supports, the city of Havre de Grace supports also. So he was a great man, and we miss him dearly, and we hope he comes back to Havre de Grace soon. But anyway, thank you very much for everything this evening. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to item number 12, resolutions. This evening we have 3 resolutions, and let's see here. Well, Councilmember Ringsacker has all 3 of them, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're going to start with Councilmember Ringsacker. Item A, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I make a motion to introduce, calendar resolution concerning license agreement for a wheelchair access ramp and raised platform deck at 17 North Adams Street, 714 North Adams Street, I apologize.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsacker, seconded by Councilmember Robertson. This is a motion to introduce a resolution concerning a license agreement for 714 North Adams Street. Questions or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce a resolution for 714 North Adams Street license agreement carries 5-0 in affirmative. Council, this is going to be Resolution 2021-06. A resolution by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, pursuant to the local government article of the Annotated Code of Maryland and Sections 33 and 34 of the City Charter for the installation of the wheelchair access ramp and raised platform deck over a portion of the city right-of-way at 714 North Adams Street and Hoppers Lane. Council, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Robertson, seconded by Councilmember Ringsacker. Questions or comments before the roll call?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Ringsacker.
Mr. Mayor, Council, if you'll all refer to this packet we received, I've got to tell you, in all the time that I've been up here with the Planning Commission, I don't know that I've really seen one put together so well, with so many examples of exactly what they're going to be building, what the expectations are for the construction. The license resolution does contain the previously agreed upon $50 admin fee, as well as the 5-year renewal, as all other license agreements do per our previous ordinance. And I highly recommend that we do pass this to allow for the wheelchair ramp. It will be right on the corner of Adams and Hoppers Lane. It actually will, the person will be able to take their wheelchair from Hoppers Lane up the side of the front of the house, that is, up to their porch. They'll have to remove a bush. Went by there, and it looks like it would fit in well. One thing I'd like to comment on is about former council member Joe Kokender for his comments tonight. I'd like just to refer back to that and some other questions I've had from fellow council members. It's not a requirement to send this to license agreements to the Planning Commission, and I don't think it should be. It's not a requirement under our charter. I think it creates an extra layer of bureaucracy and hinders our citizens. We're elected officials up here, and we're elected to represent the citizens to the best of our ability and to protect the assets of the city of Havre de Grace. In sending it to the Planning Commission for an unelected board to review, it could add several months onto a project. I just got an email last week for the end of May for a Planning Commission meeting. That's the sort of thing it would do. The problem with sending it out in email and asking for comments, then there's no discussion between the council members because of the Open Meetings Act. We can't comment back and forth on items that are, come before the council. This did get reviewed. All 3 of these tonight got reviewed by the Planning Committee. We all agreed that as a Planning Committee, that we had no problems with it. It's never, as far as I'm aware, or Mr. Grimm is aware, been a requirement to send it before the Planning Commission. I don't recommend moving that way now, because as I said, it just creates another layer of bureaucracy for our citizens. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ringsager. Any other questions or comments before I do the roll call vote? Councilmember Robertson?
I was just gonna say that all three of these were sent to the planning committee, and, you know, I'm very thankful that Shane was, you know, offered to guide us through if we had any questions or anything, which on these I did not, but, you know, I'm very thankful to be involved in the process, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Robertson. Any other question or comments? Fair enough. Okay, this is going to be, I'm going to do a roll call vote. This is Resolution 2021-06 concerning a license agreement for a wheelchair access ramp and a raised platform deck at 714 North Adams Street. Roll call vote. Councilmember Zinner? Yes. Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Councilmember Ringsager?
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson?
Yes?
Council President Glenn?
Yes.
By roll call vote of 5-0 in the affirmative, license agreement for 714 North Adams Street is approved by council. Thank you very much. Item B, Councilmember Ringsager.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I make a motion to introduce a calendar resolution concerning license agreement for a public art sign at 114 North Washington Street.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsager. Do I have a second on this? Seconded by Councilmember Zinner. Questions? This is a motion to introduce a resolution. Questions or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce a resolution concerning a license agreement for 114 North Washington carries 5-0 in the affirmative. Council, this is going to be Resolution 2021-07. A resolution by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, pursuant to the local government article of the Annotated Code of Maryland in sections 33 and 34 of the city charter for installation of a projecting sign / public art over a portion of the city right-of-way at 114 North Washington Street. Council, do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-07?
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Martin to adopt, seconded by Councilmember Ringsager. Questions or comments on this resolution? Councilmember Ringsager.
Mr. Mayor, Council, as before, this license agreement does contain the boilerplate language that we've now required, as in the admin fee and the expiration date of the license agreement. This is for a sign. It's actually pretty cool. It's a old-timey waitress from 1950s, like a soda fountain, that will be hung on the second floor, probably like level with the windows of the Vintage Cafe, 114 North Washington, on the right side of the building. It's very aesthetic, and I think it would be a great addition to downtown.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Ringsager. Do we have any other questions or comments on the license agreement? Councilmember Zinner?
It's, when I saw it, I thought it was really great, really retro, and
Yeah, I like it.
fits the name of the restaurant and just fits the town and the colors and everything, so good choice.
Agree.
Thank you, Councilmember Zinner. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Roll call vote. Council, this will be the roll call for Resolution 2021-07. Councilmember Robertson.
Yes?
Councilmember Ringsager.
Yes.
Council President Glenn.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Zinner. Yes. By a roll call vote of 5-0 in the affirmative. Council Resolution 2021-07, a license agreement for a public art sign at 114 North Washington Street is approved by this council. Item C, another license agreement. Councilmember Ringsager.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I make a motion to introduce a calendar resolution concerning a license agreement for a fence at 428 South Washington Street.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsager. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Martin. This is a motion to introduce a resolution for a license agreement. Questions or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce a license agreement for 428 South Washington Street carries on introduction. Council, this is going to be resolution number 2021-8. A resolution by the mayor and city council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, pursuant to the local government article of the annotated code of Maryland for sections 33 and 34 of the city charter for installation of a fence over a portion of the city right-of-way for Revolution Street adjacent to the property located at 428 South Washington Street. Council, I have a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Councilman Martin, seconded by Councilmember Ringsacher. Questions or comments?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I apologize. I was
Councilman
writing.
Ringsacher?
I apologize. I was writing. Mr. Mayor, Council, this is for a fence that will actually be located on the Revolution side of the building between the corner of Washington and Revolution and the parking lot for the hospital. If you've noticed, you look at that house, they've recently resided it with a nice beige residing and put a shed out there. And the fence is going to be, I believe, the same color. It's going to be a vinyl 3-foot fence, picket fence. It will be beige in color, and I ask that everybody pass it.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Ringsacher. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote. This is a roll call vote for Resolution 2021-08. Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson.
Yes.
Councilmember Zinner.
Yes.
Council President Glenn.
Yes.
Councilmember Ringsacher.
Yes.
By a roll call vote of 5-0 in the affirmative, license agreement resolution for fence at 428 South Washington is approved by council 5-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, council. And we will move on to item 13 this evening, which is ordinances. This evening we have two ordinances. We're going, the first ordinance is ordinance 1049, dealing with the zoning code, which means that's Councilmember Ringsacher.
Mr. Mayor, I think you're the only person up here who talks more than I do. Mr. Mayor, Council, make a motion to introduce ordinance 1049 concerning amendment of City Zoning Code 205-9 for second reading and adoption.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsacher, seconded by Councilmember Martin. This is for ordinance 1049 concerning amendment of City Code 205-9. This is a second reading. This is a motion to approve to introduce this resolution for second reading. Questions or comments on the second introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce ordinance 1049 for second reading carries 5-0 in the affirmative. This is ordinance 1049, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Havre de Grace, adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11E of the Maryland Constitution, the local government article of the annotated code of Maryland, and sections 33 and 34 of the Havre de Grace City Charter for the purpose of amending city zoning codes 205-9 to establish maximum setbacks in the National Register Historic District and prohibit front-load garages on certain streets. Council to have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Martin, seconded by Councilmember Ringsacher. Questions or comments on this ordinance? Councilmember Ringsacher.
Earlier this evening, Ms. Keene explained very thoroughly what this ordinance is planning to do. We have full approval, full support by the Historic Preservation Committee. Mr. Miller, at the previous meeting, former Councilman Miller, did ask that we send this to the Planning Commission, which he was correct. It actually is required by the charter. So we sent it to the Planning Commission for review, and the Planning Commission, Mr. Miller still had the objections to the requirements about the restriction on front-loading garages. However, the preponderance of the commission did support the bill as written. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ringsager. Any other questions or comments? Okay, council, we're going to do a roll call on ordinance 1049. Councilmember Ringsager, how say ye?
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson.
Yes.
Councilmember Zinner.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Council President Glenn.
Yes.
By roll call vote of 5-0 in the affirmative, ordinance 1049 is adopted on second reading. Thank you very much, council. Our second and last ordinance of the evening is a first reading, and I will hand this off to Councilmember Zinner.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I make a motion to introduce ordinance to amend Chapter 169 Stormwater Management grandfather provision for first reading.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Zinner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Ringsager. This is a motion to introduce an ordinance on first reading. Questions or comments on this introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce an ordinance concerning amendment of Chapter 169 Stormwater Management grandfather provision carries 5-0 on the introduction. Council, this ordinance is going to be assigned number 1050, ordinance 1050. An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Havre de Grace adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11E of the Maryland Constitution, the local government, and environmental articles of the annotated code of Maryland and sections 33 and 34 of the Havre de Grace City Charter for the purpose of amending the city code, Chapter 169, Stormwater Management. Council, do I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsager, seconded by Councilmember Martin. Questions or comments before the roll call vote on this first reading adoption? Councilmember Zinner.
Thank you. I just have a couple comments about this as it addresses the stormwater management and impervious surfaces. In some developments that have had long past their anticipated completion dates and are now planning the development of new parcels. The changes will lessen the negative impact the ordinance has on existing site plans that are in good standing with the city, while requiring new parcel development to meet current local requirements for stormwater management and impervious surfaces that is consistent with the Maryland Code.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Zinner.
Welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, this is going to be a roll call vote for first reading and adoption. Councilmember Ringsager.
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Zinner.
Yes.
Council President Glenn.
Yes.
By roll call vote of 5-0 in the affirmative, ordinance 1050 is adopted on first reading. Council President, when would you like to have the public hearing on this ordinance?
Why don't we shoot for April 19th at 7 p.m.?
April 19th at 7 p.m. Okay, that will be at the next council meeting, and it'll be right before the start of the council meeting. So, April 19th, next council meeting, 7 o'clock. Thank you, Council President.
No problem, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we're going to go to item number 14, old business. This evening, we have no old business. Item 15, new business, and we have 4 special events, and Mr. Seipolt will read the description of each one of them. Mr. Seipolt?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. We have 4 special events for your consideration this evening. The first is the Havre de Grace High School Music Boosters 5K Run for 2021. Sponsored by the Havre de Grace High School Music Boosters, this is a one-day event beginning and ending at Millard E. Tidings Memorial Park. The date of this event is Saturday, May the 8th. They wish to begin setting up at 6 a.m. The event will begin at 8 and ends at 11:30 a.m. Cleanup begins immediately following the end of the event. They do request assistance from the police department at a few intersections as the runners pass. Anticipated attendance is 150. There is no rain date for this event. Public work expenses are $208.75. Police expense are $508.50.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seipult. Council, for the Havre de Grace High School Music Boosters 5K run for May 8th, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by the Council President, seconded by Councilmember Martin. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Okay, Havre de Grace High School Music Boosters 5K run for May 8th, 2021, from 8 o'clock in the morning till 11:30 a.m. at Tidings Memorial Park. The event's approved 5-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, Council. Item number 2, Mr. Seipult.
The next event for your consideration is the Sergeant Alfred B. Hilton Memorial Groundbreaking. This event is sponsored by the Sergeant Alfred B. Hilton Memorial Fund, Inc. This is a one-day event at Millard E. Tidings Memorial Park. The date for this event is Friday, May the 14th. They wish to begin setup at 10 a.m. The event will begin at 1 and conclude at 3:30 p.m. Cleanup begins immediately following the conclusion, and they hope to be finished and out of the park by 5. The anticipated attendance is 75 people. They request use of the gazebo and 15 reserved parking spaces on Commerce Street. There is a rain date of Friday, May the 21st, so 1 week later in the event of rain, with the same time schedule and parking requirements. Public Works expense is $334, and there are no expenses for the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Seipult. Council, to have a motion to approve the Alfred Hilton Memorial Groundbreaking event for May 14th.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by the Council President, seconded by Councilmember Zinner. Questions or comments? Council President.
I think regarding parking, I think they're also going to use Washington Street so that they don't take all 15 on Commerce and kind of interrupt activities at the playground, for the kids. So I'm going to try to use Commerce and Washington to try to level out the parking so it doesn't interrupt any specific program.
And we can certainly work with them on that. That's fine.
I think we reached out to them already. I think that's what they're planning on doing.
Okay.
Thank you, Council President. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Alfred Hilton Memorial Groundbreaking, scheduled for May 14, 2021 at Tidings Memorial Park at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The event is approved 5-0 in the affirmative. Thank you, Council. Mr. Seipult, item 3, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The next event is the Harford Streams Summer Adventure Poker Run. This event is sponsored by the Harford County Watershed Protection and Restoration Office. This is a one-day event that will start and end at the Community Pavilion at Frank J. Hutchins Memorial Park. This event would occur on Saturday, May the 22nd. They will set up on Saturday at noon. The event begins at 12:30 and ends at 4:30 p.m. The cleanup begins immediately upon conclusion of the event. There is no rain date for this event, and the anticipated attendance is 150 people. They are requesting to use the gazebo at Tidings Park as one of their locations for picking up a playing card. They have several stations around the city, but that is one in which is on a city property. Public Works expense is $268.75. There are no expenses for the police department.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seipult. Council, to have a motion to approve the Harford Stream Summer Adventure Poker Run.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Robertson, seconded by Councilmember Ringstocker. Questions or comments? Councilmember Martin?
As you can see, when you look at exhibitors, Mr. Greg Pizzuta, the newest member of the Tourism Advisory Board, is going to be Visit Harford, here to represent.
Thank you, sir. Other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Harvard Stream Summer Adventure Poker Run, May 22nd, 2021, from 12:30 to 4:30 p.m. Hutchins Park Pavilion and Titans Memorial Park Gazebo, carries 5-0 in the affirmative. Item number 4, Mr. Seipel.
Thank you, Mayor. The final event for your consideration this evening is the Upper Bay Pride Festival. This event is sponsored by the St. John's Episcopal Church and Upper Chesapeake Bay Pride, Inc. This is a one-day event for Saturday, October 9th at Concord Point Park. They want to begin setup on Saturday at 8 a.m. The event will begin at 2 p.m. and end at 6 p.m. Cleanup begins immediately following the event. They request that Lafayette Street from Young to Concord be closed, as well as Concord Street up to the Alliance Street intersection also be closed. So it's right around that dog leg around the Lighthouse Keeper's house, which we typically close for events at Concord Point for pedestrian traffic. There is no rain date for this event. The anticipated attendance is 3,000 plus or minus, depending on the weather. There will not be any gambling or alcohol sold or given away. The public works expense for this are $1,451.25. The expense for the police department is $10,170.
Thank you, Mr. Seipel. Council will have a motion to approve our Upper Chesapeake Bay Pride Festival.
So moved.
Okay, I'll just say that was Councilmember Zinner.
Second.
See, I heard Councilmember Robertson in a second.
All right. I got the last two, that's okay.
Okay, all right. And Councilmember Robertson in a second.
Usually a little faster than that, Jimmy. What's
I am
happening?
faster.
You're
It's
slacking.
the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, Councilmember Ringsager.
That's
Next
okay.
time.
I still support it.
Motion by Councilmember Zinner, second by Councilmember Robertson. Questions or comments on the event? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Upper Chesapeake Bay Pride Festival, scheduled for October 9th, 2021, from 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 6 p.m. at Concord Point Park, is approved, 5-0 in the affirmative. Thank you. Thank you very much, Council. That's all for the new business we have, and I want to thank Council for the support of all the events we have going on in the city. Thank you. And I just want to say, I'm glad the Upper Chesapeake Bay Pride Festival is going on this year. There might have been a chance you could have done it in June, but I think moving it in October would be a lot safer bet and more enjoyable, and hopefully the weather will be a beautiful fall day. And
I say better weather.
And I'll never forget, at the last one we had 2 years ago, a beautiful bald eagle kept circling Concord Point Park all day. So I bet you that eagle's going to be back for us. So thank you very much. Have a good evening. We're going to go to item 16, Director's Reports, and we're going to start with the Director of Administration, Mr. Seipel. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and good evening, citizens. The Ethics Commission will meet on Wednesday, April 7th at 9 a.m. A copy of the meeting agenda can be found on the city website. Additionally, there will be a Water Sewer Commission meeting on Friday, April 9th at 3 p.m. That agenda also can be found on the city website. On Friday, April 9th, the Havre Grace Arts Collective presents NBC's The Voice winner, Xavier Collin, virtual concert. Having been introduced to millions on TV viewers as the winner of the inaugural season of The Voice, singer, songwriter, guitarist, Xavier Collin is set to take his recording career to the next level with Gravity, his fourth album. The virtual performance begins at 7 p.m. Please visit the website hdgoperahouse.org for more information. On Saturday, April 10th, join members of the Havre Grace Arts Collective with their Connections Through the Arts program featuring Paint Along Cherry Blossoms. Created for kids and teens, this free online art class will be held from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Attendees will learn the different varieties of cherry trees and learn how to easily paint the branches and delicate blossoms. To register for the virtual class, please visit their website, hdgartscollective.org/youth-art-projects. On Saturday, April 17th, the City of Havre de Grace will be having its annual citywide community yard sale. Shopping and treasure hunting begins at 8 a.m. and ends at 4 p.m. Rain date is Sunday, April 18th. If you wish to participate as a seller of fine, slightly used antiquities, please call the Office of Tourism, 410-939-2100, or email Laurie Orzowitz at laurieo@havertygracemd.com. And get to know your candidates. The Candidates Forum, sponsored by OPAC, which is Ontario Otsego Positive Action Committee, will be held on Tuesday, April the 20th, from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. This year will be a virtual event using a Zoom platform. The city's website will stream the event and provide a link in the upcoming days to both watch the forum live as well as forward questions to the candidates. If you're unable to view the event that evening, it will be recorded and televised on HCN on Wednesday, April 28th at 8 p.m. And then Tuesday, May 4th, it's Election Day for Havre Grace. Got to let you know early. This year, the city will be holding elections for 1 mayor and 3 council members. The election poll opens at 7 a.m. and closes at 8 p.m. at City Hall, right here, located at 711 Pennington Avenue. Absentee ballots will be available at City Hall or the Board of Election office on April 14th. The deadline to receive an application for an absentee ballot through the mail will be April 27th. After then, by person. All absentee ballots must be returned to City Hall by 5 p.m. on May 4th. If you have any questions, please call the Harford County Board of Elections office. They're located at 133 Industry Lane in Forest Hill. Their phone number is 410-638-3565, or you can email me, Patrick S., at havertygracemd.com, or give me a call at 410-939-1800, extension 1131. And if you missed any of the information I just spoke of, and for a complete calendar of events for our city, please visit our websites, havertygracemd.com, explorehavertygrace.com, and hdgoperahouse.org. And that will conclude my sermon for this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seipel. We appreciate all the updates. Thank you. I'd like to call forward our Director of Planning, Mr. Shane Grimm. Good evening, Mr. Grimm. Good to have you here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to make this quick because it's my wife's birthday and I'm trying to get home, eat some cake or something. So I just want to thank you all for your consideration of Ordinance 1049. As I've said in the past, it's an ordinance that I think will be important to our Historic Preservation Commission and will also be important to our historic downtown to help preserve those streetscapes, and really is the first step in trying to have some design guidelines to guide how new development affects our downtown. So I'm really excited for that. I know our Historic Preservation is excited for that, so we're going to continue to work together and try to bring some more things in front of you so that we can continue working to make our great downtown even greater. And the only other thing I'd like to add is we do have some things that will come up on the Planning Commission in the next month or so, so I'll keep you all apprised of that. Some projects in Bully Rock and then some other miscellaneous projects as well. So lots of stuff still going on, and Department of Planning is working hard. We're also working on the update to the comprehensive plan, and I'm hoping to bring some stuff to you shortly just to talk a little bit about our timeline, our time frame, and what we're working on and the direction we're taking the plan. We're in the very early stages. Diane Clare of our office is working on that. She's managing that project. It's a lot to take under consideration and review, so it'll be lots of meetings to discuss that. And the last thing is Ms. Clare is also working on a long-awaited update to our critical area program, and I hope to have that in front of you in the next couple of weeks as well. That is, if anybody's familiar with the critical area, those regulations are just cumbersome and unwieldy and challenging for even folks who deal with it every day to look at. So she's done an unbelievable task of working with the Planning Commission, with the Critical Area Commission to update those regulations and get those in front of you all so that we can have them modernized and be consistent with the state critical area law. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. Council, any questions for Mr. Grimm? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Say happy birthday to White Forest.
Will do. Thanks.
Thank you. I'd like to call forward Ms. Erica Quisenberry Sturgill, who is our Director of Economic Development. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. So I promised you last time that I'd give you information on the governor's monies that are coming down for the rescue plan funding. Came from the federal government to Maryland, and then they were dividing out these funds into the various programs to help during the pandemic. So instead of going through a rather exhaustive list, I wanted to give you some of the highlights of it. But $1.1 billion is going to shore up the Unemployment Insurance Trust, $800 million for pandemic relief on Relief Act of 2021, as well as the Maryland Strong Economic Recovery Initiative. There's an additional $600 million for reopening of schools, which will include $80 million to improve HVAC and ventilation systems, and $46 million for continued long-term impact on learning loss. $500 million for Maryland Department of Transportation and Transportation Authority for services and infrastructure. And then a $300 million fund is being created for broadband technology, including $45 million in municipal broadband grants. So we've requested some information on a lot of these different programs so that we can see how they could benefit the citizens of Havre de Grace and how we can try and bring some of those funds here into our city. I'd also like to offer congratulations to the Harford County Chamber of Commerce and their Executive Director, Angela Rose, in recognition of the Chamber's 45th anniversary, which was celebrated with a Cheers to 45 Years virtual event last Thursday, April the 1st. The 45th Anniversary magazine put out by that organization, which was incorporated on April 1st, 1976, also features a congratulatory advertisement from the City of Havre de Grace and the Office of Economic Development. April 5th through 9th has proclaimed National Community Development Week by Governor Hogan in the state of Maryland. And this is basically to celebrate the federal redevelopment resources and their positive impact on Maryland communities. This is basically 3 federal programs: Community Development Block Grant, which we know as CDBG, Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and the Home Investment Partnership Program. As you know, Havre de Grace has received CDBG funds through Department of Housing and Community Development in the past for a variety of paving, sidewalk, water, sewer infrastructure programs. And the Havre de Grace Housing Authority has used a variety of those after-school funds and the Homes Program funds. So these have all come back to Havre de Grace over the years. And lastly, TEDCO, which is the Maryland Technology Economic Development Engine, has opened up a brand new application procedure that's called the Agricultural and Rural Rebuild Challenge, which is not easy to say 3 times or for 1 time, but it's to assist rural and agricultural businesses that have been detrimentally impacted by COVID-19 pandemic and the associated economic downturn. What I find particularly interesting about this is Havre de Grace businesses do qualify as being within a rural county and a rural community to apply for these funds, which are through a completely new program of TEDCO, and they're $200,000 per project to apply for them. All of the information on this grant is through TEDCO or TEDCOMD.com, and this, of course, will be on the website on the COVID-19 relief pages that you've set up, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Quisenberry?
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Thank you very much for being here this evening. Thank you. I'd like to call forward our Director of Finance, Mr. George DeHorty. Mr. DeHorty, it's good to see you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, citizens. As of today, the general fund is sitting at just under $5.6 million, a $2 million increase, or a $2 million improvement for the year. We started the year with about 1.25, so we were quite a ways there when we started the year, and we've grown by about 750 throughout the year so far. Major contributors, because of the city's slow during the pandemic, there was a lot of savings, especially salaries and benefits, $900,000 in reduced labor costs. Add to that, real property tax billing is about a little over $100,000 more than what was expected by the constant yield a year ago. Offsetting that was about $300,000 we're behind in income tax receipts, which, while not, we still don't have a good feel whether that's timing or whether that's true economic downturn and employment, because we're basically getting information in dribs and drabs from the Comptroller's office but in their defense, they're getting dribs and drabs from people filing. Now that they've extended deadlines, I expect the delay to be even longer. And as reported before, we've had a $60,000 decrease in anticipated highway user fees by State Highway Administration, and we're counting that in our losses. Pardon me. The Water and Sewer Fund. The fund is sitting currently at a deficit of $350,000. That is primarily the result of the last month of the quarter being the smallest billing period, as well as we had April 1st, we had a fairly active debt service payments, which brought us into a deficit. Both of these were anticipated, and we anticipate rebounding back to a positive fund balance very quickly. The last time I said that, it only took one meeting. Not sure, but we very well could do that again this time. And at the Marina Fund, the fund is a bit over $1 million, which is a $220,000 increase for the year. And it is to the point now where you can anticipate seeing some upcoming budget amendments to do some infrastructure and some planning for the basin, as we now feel comfortable in our progress to move forward with some of the long-anticipated capital projects. More to come later, starting with the Budget and Finance Committee, but in the next meeting or two, I expect you'll be seeing some significant events for the marina in that. And that's my report for this evening.
Council, any questions for Mr. DeHorty? Mr. DeHorty, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for being here this evening. Thanks for the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
I'd like to call forward Mr. Tim Whitty, our Director of Public Works. Good evening, Mr. Whitty.
Mayor and Council.
What you building?
Oh, a lot of things. A lot of things. Yeah. So we had the 12-inch water main from Havre to Grace to Aberdeen. We had a pre-construction meeting today. We're going to shoot for to start the project May 3rd. It's a little bit aggressive start date with supplies, but we're going to try to keep get it built as soon as possible to get down for the Blenheim farm. So we got a kind of aggressive start date. It might have to end up going back a week or two because of picking up supplies. Both the sewer projects at Commerce and Francis Street, the RFPs were advertised today. We did send them out directly to 6 contractors. The project is really lining. Most of the pipe is going to be lined. There's a sectional in Commerce Street, maybe about 200 feet that's going to have the actual ductile iron, the terracotta pipe's in such bad shape that we're going to excavate it and replace it with PVC. But the remainder of that pipe is going to be lined with a composite. So we sent it to six contractors that are familiar with that type of work. I'm going to have on Francis Street, we're going to schedule a meeting towards the end of this month with the homeowners on Francis Street to go over the project with them, as well as we're going to have to pick somebody to kind of drive through to get through the project through their yard. So we're going to get that working this month as far as get that project kicking. Hopefully will be under construction in May. Old Bay Lane project, I received the final plan today. I put the RFP together this evening, and we're going to advertise that one tomorrow. Send that out and put it on our website. The National Guard pump station, that's at 50%. We had to redo that a little, kind of get the cost down, so we had to re-engineer it. And we're sending that, I just reviewed the plans, and we sent those comments back, and we're going to go for 90%. That project's probably I got to go for an MDE permit on that, so it's questionable. The start date's probably maybe late summer. The intake project, we are going to re-advertise that project this month. I just finished looking at the specs, updated specs. The issue with that is we were getting costs at like double what the engineer's estimate is, so we're going to try to send it out one more time and see how successful we can get. First time we bid it, we had 3 people show up and only 1 bid, and the second time we sent it back out again, we got 2, but they were really, really high. Solid handling facility, it's moving towards 100% drawings. Paving, we are completed the patching. Unfortunately, the cold weather set in last week, and really it shut the asphalt plants down. So we're actually, all the patching's complete. We're actually going to go ahead and get milling and overlay. So hopefully this week with the warmer weather, we can get most of those streets knocked out. and kind of get BG&E out of there. And then Water Street, we did submit addressed all the comments submitted back to the federal government. So we're going to just waiting to see what the response is for the permit. So we've addressed all the questions. We had complete MDE support on this project. So they've been really helping us out. I'll tell you, Maryland Department of the Environment's on board with this project. They recognize it for what it is, a really great opportunity. And we've had nothing but help with them as far as getting it through the federal government. That's pretty much the issue right now is the feds. 620, I don't know if you had a chance to drive by the alley with no name, or the lane with no lane name behind 626, 625 Fountain Street. We did complete that and paved it. It looks really nice. Tied it into, so they did really good. We had civil utility do the project. Did a really nice job. Corrected the drainage as best we could from the city side. There's still some issues on the property side. Those folks are going to have to take care of. How they put in their driveways and their parking pads has impacted the drainage on their lots. But if they come out to the road and kind of grade on their properties, they should eliminate any of the ponding that's on their properties. That's just up to them, and we'll work with them as far as that goes. And then Lewis Lane, we submitted the SHA application. We have $94,000 in SHA grant money we're going to use towards Lewis Lane. I am in contact with John Venenza because they're going to put in that street crossing. So he's got to get back to me on the timeline when because I want them to put the wiring, whatever needs in for the street crossing at Revolution and Lewis Lane there before we pave it. So we'll be working with them on that. And then Girard Street, we've submitted the final application in for Girard Street for those fundings for that storm drain system behind the houses behind the radio station and the houses on Girard Street. So we're waiting on the final approval of that. That should come sometime at the end of April. And then finally, just Marina. We talked about that before. We have submitted the plans and we're MDE for the permit for the tanks and dispensers and piping. So we're working through that permitting process. Anybody have any questions?
Council, any questions for Mr. Woody? Mr. Woody, thank you very much for the comprehensive update on everything. Appreciate all you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd call forward Chief Walter, Chief of Police. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. As we finally have some warm weather, and hopefully it will maintain for quite some time, we're seeing more and more people out running, walking dogs, playing sports. Our special events are starting to burgeon, and that's wonderful. We want to see all these things going on in our city, and we do appreciate it. But the one thing, again, I have to reiterate is traffic and pedestrians, and like I said, we've got a lot of kids, a lot of people out and about. So this month we are actually spending a little bit more time, and we are going to be doing a lot of pedestrian driver enforcement. If you have a pedestrian at a crosswalk, please make sure if you are driving that you stop, allow the pedestrian to cross the street. If you do not, you might just very well get a citation from us. So again, we're doing that throughout this month of April. So this is kind of fair warning just to let everybody know that we are going to be out there. So please pay attention. You should pay attention no matter what, not just this month, but again, with the nice weather, we want everybody to realize that. The other thing that we want people to pay attention to is, especially on Juniata Street, the yellow curbs by Harris Field and along all the ballparks. Again, Parks and Rec, those types of things, the kids playing. Please do not park on the yellow lines because we will be issuing citations again if you are parked on the yellow lines. Because again, that does also reduce, if you're parked there, it reduces the line of sight for drivers, and kids do have a tendency to pop out in between the vehicles, so please pay attention to that. And then also with First Fridays, as well as the other special events that we have going on, or will be going on here pretty soon, we absolutely ask that people do not block other people's driveways. I know sometimes parking can be a little bit of a premium, but do not park and block somebody's driveway. We have towed vehicles in the past because residents can't get out of their driveway because somebody who's attending a special event is now parked in front of their driveway. The other thing that we ask is that during the special events, do not move as much as you want to move barricades, traffic cones, remove no parking signs, barrels, whatever. Do not do that. That, again, will get you a traffic citation. And those are put up there for a very specific reason, mostly because we don't want anybody driving into the crowds. So again, please don't remove those and pay attention to a law enforcement officer, especially during our bigger events when we've taken over the lights, the regular street lights. So please pay attention to whomever the officer is, whether it's us or one of our colleagues from an outside agency that might be in here to assist us. And just one other thing, since we are talking about traffic and people walking, the Susquehanna Hose Company, they're doing an outstanding job. They're actually helping with the COVID-19 vaccines. And House 4 this week, they are doing some of the vaccinations. All of the appointments, it is my understanding, speaking with Chief Hurst, have been accounted for. But the reason why I'm telling you that is because in case there is not enough parking on their parking lot at House 4, people have a tendency to want to park across the street in the little shopping center, or not the doctor center right there. And the hose company does have permission to have folks park there. But most people doing what they do, they treat walking across the street like water. They'll take the path of least resistance and they'll go right across the street. We will have one of our auxiliary officers out there also, just making sure that people do cross the street safely. But I'll tell you this because I also don't want one of my auxiliary officers getting hit by a driver. So please pay attention to the people that might be crossing the street and also the auxiliary officer. That will be it, sir.
Council, any questions for the chief? Councilman Ringsager.
Mr. Mayor, Chief, I can't thank you enough for stressing that about the curbs in front of the field. As before, I've mentioned, I volunteer, I coach for rec football, and if I'm not on the field coaching and we have a home game, I'm in the booth, and I probably spend half my time between calling the game as telling people not to park there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I get so worried about these kids going out there because traffic can cruise through there, even though we do what we can to keep the speed down. But the curbs are painted there yellow for a reason, and all the time, every single game, somebody will park there. And it's almost always somebody from out of town.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen people from in town, and I get rude about it. When I see them park, we watch what they're wearing, and I'll call them out, and we'll call their tag out, and we watch where they're going to go sit, and I'll send somebody over there to go get them and make them move, because it's extremely dangerous to the kids if they can't see
It's true.
around the cars, and if cars can't see them coming. So, Chief, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. And thanks for calling them out.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. That's it.
Councilman Robertson.
Chief, what was the accolade that you received last month for Women's History Month?
Thank you. Colonel Bryant, she was very nice. Her organization actually recognized me for my civic duty and the various things that I have done throughout the year with different projects.
Yeah, well, couldn't think of anyone better to receive any accolades any month.
She's awesome. She really, really is. She's also a resident here in Havre de Grace, so it was a very nice and pleasant surprise, so thank you.
Well deserved, Chief.
Yeah.
Councilmember Zinner.
Chief, I just wanted to thank you for your participation during Suffrage Week events, and I really enjoyed your story about that call into
Thank you.
North Harford County,
Yeah.
and the highlights of Iron-Jawed Angels, and that is such a hard title movie
It is.
to remember and to say, but it was a great movie, great introduction, and thanks for your participation.
Not a problem. Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great evening. We're going to roll into item 17, which is business from the mayor's office. So I got some important things to say tonight. So stay tuned. I'm going to start with the simple stuff real quick. First, I'd like to recap and talk about what a wonderful event we had in the city of Havre de Grace on March 27th, when the city of Havre de Grace recognized the historic significance of a speech that was held on June 30th, 1915 at the gazebo by the Justice League, Harford County Justice League prayer schooner. It was a march that came through New Jersey and Delaware into Havre de Grace, and they stopped at our park and gave a women's suffragist speech for a couple hours, and we were able to secure a William Pomeroy marker, place it next to the gazebo where that speech took place. And again, I want to thank Dr. Amy Rosencrantz for the research she did on this event to bring it to life, and it was all validated through contemporary news articles, newspaper stories, and so it was a wonderful event on March 22nd or 27th at the Titans Park gazebo. Also had the honor of shaking hands and wishing happy birthday to a woman who lives on Union Avenue. Her name is Mabel Hart. She just turned 102 years young, and her birthday was actually on that day. And again, just the significance of saying happy birthday to a lady who was born before the 19th Amendment took passage. So, you know, like I say, this is not ancient history. You know, it's just very significant. It was a very significant weekend for the city. Very, very proud for our city and our citizens to have such a role in the women's suffrage movement. I want to thank the men and women on the board of the Havre de Grace Rec Committee for all the hard work, putting little prizes in almost 5,300 plastic eggs that were strewn all over Concord Point Park, but luckily they were collected in about 2 minutes. And so I know there's a lot of work to do. There's a passion of commitment, or, you know, passion of love for the rec committee to do that. But I just want them all to know how grateful we are every year that they take the time to do that. And it was great to see the families and the kids out in the parks on a sunny, beautiful day. And I hope everybody had a nice Easter. Again, just want to say that when Mr. Woody was here earlier, please plan ahead. If you're leaving work early in the morning and you're late to work, watch out, because there might be road work going on Juniata Street or somewhere like that. So it caught me this morning. So just know that we're going to be doing a lot of paving in the city in the next couple weeks. So please be patient. But when it's all done, the streets are going to look much better. Let's see here. COVID report. We all know that Harford County is the worst county in the state with COVID right now. And Havre de Grace is one of the, not the worst, but one of the highest numbers of transmission rates. We have 36 cases since April 1st. Yeah, today's April 5th. So we got a significant amount of cases. For the month of March, Havre de Grace had 140 cases. February was 65 cases. January is 224. So we kind of had a little dip in the 21078 zip code. We're spiking back up again. Dr. Bashai of the Harford County Health Department put a video out last week, and he was kind of addressing Harford County's disposition and the awareness of our spike in COVID numbers. And, you know, he did say, you know, just be careful and cautious when you're indoors. Restaurants, bars, you know, even Harford County Public Schools have had a few cases that Harford County Public Schools keeps a rolling number of teachers and students that have tested positive or quarantining on their website. So there are some cases in the schools now that schools are back open, but he did say, you know, restaurants and things like that have also seen a spike. So again, if you go out to eat, not telling anybody not to go out to eat or patronize a restaurant, just when you walk in there, you know, do the old safe test. If you feel safe, if you feel it's not bustling at the seams or people walking around yelling without a mask, you know, just, you know, walk in there and make sure you feel comfortable that the seats are spread out, people are sitting down, and anyone walking around is wearing a mask. Hopefully this will dip back down, these cases. Surely it will. It's just a temporary spike. The primary cases are from ages 20 to 50. So even though we're a high infectious county, we're not a high, thankfully we're not a high death rate county, because the cases are younger people. But so Dr. Bashai said, you know, stay outside as much as you can. You know, stay outside in the sunshine and parks, open air activities, and that's probably the safest place to be for now. So just want everybody be careful when you're walking indoors. Make sure you feel safe when you walk indoors, that everybody's adherent to COVID protocols. And now for the bigger two announcements here. And this one's for Dave Anderson, the Aegis reporter who's watching this at home. I'm sure he'll call me up on this one. So there's two things I want to talk about. The first one is, well, they're both the things I'm going to bring up are historic topics for the city. The first thing I want to talk about is a thing called ISO, which stands for Insurance Service Office. Now, what is an ISO? Listen carefully. Insurance Service Office is an organization. They collect and evaluate fire suppression capabilities in over 48,000 communities in the United States. So every fire department in the United States, there's over 48,000 of them. They collect data on them. ISO notes that most insurers use the PPC classification for underwriting and calculating the premiums on your residential, commercial, industrial properties for your insurance. So if your fire department sucks, you're going to have to pay a lot of money for your home insurance. That's what I'm saying. If they're good, they realize that, and you pay less. It's the likelihood of your house burning down. The PPC score is a measure of the community's overall ability to reduce property losses due to fires. The PPC score is based upon availability credit in 4 categories. You get 50 points if you're for fire departments, 40 points for the water supply, 10 points for emergency communications, and 5.5 points for community risk reduction. The fire department score is based upon apparatus location, training, staffing, and use of apparatus, and standard operating guidelines. Of the 10 classifications of ISO, out of the 48,000 fire departments, I want you guys to consider something. You have volunteer fire departments, and then you have fire departments where you have a paid staff, paid professional firefighters. Now, they're the ones you can, think of that live in the firehouse. They're being paid, they sleep above the engine, and when the alarm goes off, they go down to the famous fire pole, and they jump in a truck and put the fire out. And those are most of your larger metropolitan cities with multi-billion-dollar budgets allocated to firefighters. Not only just equipment, apparatus, but, salaries, pensions, healthcare, all those things. Well, then you have volunteer fire companies, which comprises probably the majority of towns in this country. Small towns that can't afford a fully paid fire service, so they rely on buying the equipment, but heavily depend on volunteers in the community to go through the training that it takes to work the equipment and to put out fires and help save lives. Havre de Grace is an all-volunteer city. The Susquehanna Hose Company has been around for over 100 years, about 115 years. And they won't take a dime for pay. All they ask for is that, the city helps them put out fires. I mean, the city and the county and the state all allocate money to the Susquehanna Hose Company for equipment and apparatus. And the men and women of the Susquehanna Hose Company will take care of the rest. They take care of the training. They take care of all the work that goes involved in it. Responding to the scenes lightning fast. We know that over 10 years ago, there was a survey done nationally that they are the fastest responding fire department in the nation. About 10 years ago, roughly, they received an unheard of ISO rating for a volunteer fire department of an ISO rating of 2. An ISO rating of 2. Out of 48,000 fire departments, they were classified as a 2. And we all benefited. So if anybody, your insurance companies, whether you lived here back then or not, your insurance companies know that if your fire department has that classification, the likelihood of your house burning down is very unlikely, at least structural damage and things like that. But the Susquehanna Hose Company wasn't satisfied with an ISO rating of 2. They're very stubborn people, and they all thought they should be an ISO rating of 1. And that is a very, very tall, almost impossible task for an all-volunteer fire department to get an ISO rating of 1. Again, you got to remember, your big cities like New York and Boston and Baltimore and Chicago, those people are right there. They live there. They're paid to be there. When that alarm goes off, they're in a truck within a couple minutes. And when you're a volunteer, that means you're a citizen servant. You live at home, you get the call, you get in your car, and you go to the fire department. So it's almost unheard of for a volunteer organization to have an ISO rating of 1. It's almost impossible. Well, this is Havre de Grace. And of the 48,000 fire departments in this country, only 388 agencies, less than 1%, have an ISO rating of 1. And the Susquehanna Hose Company received a letter, or actually it came to the mayor's office. I had to tell the chief. Anyway, we received a letter last week that said your fire department has earned an ISO rating of number 1. We may be the only volunteer fire department of those 388. We're not sure. We're looking into it. We know we're only the third in Maryland. Only Annapolis and Baltimore have an ISO rating of 1. So I want everyone just to really let that sink in for a second. This city pays about $330-some thousand for our fire department. We give them 2% of our gross taxable base. It's an ordinance. So whatever our taxable base is, they get 2%. $330,000 gives the citizens of Havre de Grace one of the greatest fire departments in the nation, less than top 1%. Men and women who they're our neighbors. They're the people we pass at the store, on the promenade. They're our friends. And that's the fire suppression service that they do, and they gladly do it. Not only did they pass that 90% threshold, they actually scored a 96.5%. We're guessing probably one of the highest scores you could get. So hats off to the men and women of the hose company. I'm sure the council president will say a few things about it. But I want everyone to let that sink in for a second, just what a big deal that is. And it'll take effect July 1. Make sure your homeowner's insurance company is aware of it. It would help you to contact your agent because I'm sure they're not used to that. Only if you live in Baltimore or Annapolis does your agent know what that means. Say, look, the fire department of the community I live in is a Class 1 ISO. That means they're the fastest and best in the country, the top 1%. So I know that Chief Hurst and President Joe Miller are extremely proud, as are the men and women of the fire department. I know sometime towards the end of May, they're going to give a formal presentation at the Opera House. I'll see if I can have them here at a council meeting. But like I say, it's a big deal. We're extremely proud of them. We're very fortunate to benefit from their service. So that's first big announcement. Second big announcement, I got to take a drink of water for this one. Okay, second big announcement. If you remember a few weeks ago, Congress passed a $1.9 trillion, let's call it a financial package. There's a little bit of everything, a little bit of stimulus, a little bit of COVID relief. And in that $1.9 trillion package that the federal government passed, unbeknownst to us, I think it wasn't known by a lot of people, but unbeknownst to us, there was a portion of funds set aside to help municipalities around the country. Municipalities that saw economic downturn because of COVID, that lost revenue, lost jobs, lost tourism dollars, lost economic development opportunities, spent their own money on equipment, COVID procedures, you name it. So the National League of Cities actually lobbied the federal government and basically said to them, hey, look, normally how this works is when you help out the small towns, you give the money to the states, and then the states give it to the county, and then the county give it to the cities, and, well, we all know how that works and how long that takes. So this is like the first time ever that the federal government is going to give direct deposit money to municipalities. Now, there's a lot of municipalities in this country. But the rule of thumb formula is they're going to give about 75% of a city's budget to every municipality. We became aware of this a few weeks ago. We're going to get $11.7 million from the federal government. Bel Air is getting about $8 million, and Aberdeen is getting about $13 million. Again, there's a formula, roughly about 75% of your operating budget. It's gonna come in 2 installments. We're gonna get the first half probably sometime in May, maybe no later in June. And the second half of our funding will come 12 months later. Stipulation is you have 3.5 months to spend it. You have till December of 2024 to spend that money.
Years.
Ever see the movie Brewster's Millions? Anyway. But there are some stipulations. You cannot use that money to lower your tax rate. You cannot use that money to put into your employees' pensions. But there's a wide variety of things you can use it for. You can use it for water and sewer infrastructure. You can use it to help regain any kind of economic downturn your city experienced, or economic development initiatives, tourism initiatives. There's a wide variety of things that money can go towards. It's quite the task. Like I say, we found out about it, and of course your natural reaction is, well, we didn't ask for this money. We did what we're supposed to do. We issued a spending freeze. We buckled down like most Americans did, and we were pretty responsible with our money. But on the other hand, I mean, the bill was passed. I mean, the money's staring us down. Every town in this country is getting it, and it's your tax dollars. It's our tax dollars. It's coming from the feds. And this is the first time that's ever happened, where they bypass all the other layers of bureaucracy and just give the money directly to the cities to say, look, we trust you to know what you guys need for your city. And so there are reporting requirements. But I can tell the citizens this. This is very new in the stages of this money that we are receiving. I've tasked several members of my administration, including the chief of staff, to sit in on as many conference calls that he can to find out the parameters of this money, what it can be used for, the reporting requirements, when we expect to get it, and things like that. I've also tasked my administration to come up with as many scenarios as possible with the best allocation of these funds. I've received input from council members. I've even received input from some of the members of the public who are aware of it. But I can promise you this, whatever this city ends up spending that money on, every dollar of it will be justifiable, that it's going to benefit everybody. There's going to be no special interest groups in Havre de Grace that are going to get any of that money. That money is going to be spent on the greater good of our city. There's a lot of people that say, you need to do the responsible thing and pave all the roads or fix all the water and sewer infrastructure. Some people say, wouldn't it be great if we had a 300-foot pier at the end of Green Street, or wouldn't it be great if we had a park over here? Well, if you know me and you know this council, and you know the things we spent our money on, or our tax dollars on over the last 5-6 years, it's going to be a little bit of both. It's going to be some stuff that we desperately need, some things that we responsibly should spend it on, but also it's going to be some things that are going to make our town look beautiful. It's going to be a little mixture. The formula we're going to come up with, I promise you, is going to be the best formula that's going to have the greatest impact moving forward in the city. So somewhere out there is that sweet spot where, if we allocate some to Fund 9, which is the Water and Sewer Fund, it'll put some downward pressure on some rates. Also, we feel if we put some of it in some things like, beautification of the city and fixing some things that normally we wouldn't have the political will to do because of the cost, we're going to try to attack those too. So at the end of the day, we're going to bring forth a nice package that we feel is going to address immediate needs and future needs of the city, but again, will benefit all citizens equally in our city for quality of life, public safety, public utilities, the value of your homes, all those things put together. So again, that money probably will not be in the budget that I'm going to hand council at the next council meeting. And we're expecting it. We probably won't get it in 2 weeks. It'll be a month or two later. And whatever plan we come up with, council is going to be working on it. It'll be a collaborative effort. We'll let everyone in the public know how this is going to come forth, and we'll take public comment and public input. Nothing's going to be done in a vacuum, I can promise you that. But I just want to let everybody know it's coming. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get 75% of your budget handed to you. You know, it's kind of like, you know, inheriting $80,000. Not going to pay off your house, but if you spend it wisely, it'll help you. You know, that's kind of how it feels. I mean, that's not going to solve any one problem the city has. I mean, we don't have that many problems, but I mean, it's not going to solve everything. But if we spend it wisely, I think there's a nice balance out there where we can take this, and our goal is to take that money and make Havre de Grace even more awesome than it already is, if that's even possible. So I would look forward to working with council and taking input from the public, but I just wanted to let everybody know. And I'll update you as it comes forward. But also, with that kind of money coming in, you know, my director of administration, Mr. Seipold, is my favorite line. He just looked at me and said, you know, $1 million could do $20,000, $50,000 projects. And so when you think about that, I mean, we got our hands full. So even if we, you know, the easy thing would be to take $6 million and, you know, put it in water and sewer. That's one thing, but you know, if you did come up with $50,000 projects, just the execution of it. And we go on and on with the list of things that we could attend to. So it may even require, and I'm looking into probably even restructuring my administration a little bit and allocating, you know, some of our organization just to dedicate it on those funds. So I'm looking at everything right now with, you know, receiving that money, the time we have to execute the expenditures of it by December 2024, and how we're going to devote time and allocate my resources into my administration to oversee those projects. So there's a lot in the works. Just want to tell you about it. There's one other important thing I didn't want to tell you, especially if you play pickleball. There's another pickleball court coming. So we get a lot of complaints weekly about the pickleball court down at Tidings Park, and the complaint is we don't have enough pickleball courts. So it's so down at the Lock House. So it's a good problem to have. Down at the Lock House, if you're familiar with the Lock House, and then there's like a long parking lot, and then there's the McElhenney Park Bridge. There's a grassy area adjacent to that long parking lot area. And within a week or two, hopefully.
April 19th.
April 19th. Thank you very much. Lexington and Concord anniversary, 1775. All right.
Good morning.
Sorry. So April 19th, there'll be some bulldozers down there and some construction, and we're going to pave a nice little, well, it's pickleball court is the size of a tennis court. You can get 2 games out of it. So there'll be another pickleball court for our pickleball players, and a nice little pavilion to go with it. So that's already been in our budget funding from the previous year. Council funded that expenditure. So if you see the bulldozers down there grading the area, and I know they're going to probably use some, it needs a little bit of fill, so they're taking some crushed earth from the broken up bricks and stone from the high school, and they're going to smooth that out a little bit, make it nice and flat. So we're recycling the high school to kind of make the pickleball court. So a little bit of warrior pride going in that pickleball court there. So with that said, thank you for listening to me. I had a lot to update you guys on. And at the next council meeting, there'll be more updates. I'll be handing the budget to the council at the next council meeting. And that said, I thank everybody for your time. We'll move on to business from the council. We'll start with Councilmember Zinner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens. I too would like to congratulate the Susquehanna Host Company on this great achievement. I was watching it for some time in terms of when they would get to 1. I know that was a goal that they've had for some time, and generally I think the ratings come out once every 5 years. So they moved up considerably the last time, which probably got people quite the discount on their a bigger discount on their insurance than maybe they'll get this time, but still very well deserved. And I did talk to Scotty Hurston and congratulated him and asked him to pass my congratulations on to Joe Miller and the rest of the volunteer fire company. I also want to thank Amy Rosenkrantz for the work she did for the entire week of the suffrage week, I guess I've been calling it, and for hosting the Women in Politics panel on Tuesday evening that she hosted. The other thing I want to mention is, as a member of the Seroptimist, we are having trouble getting our applications back for scholarships. So anyone listening, if you have a daughter, a granddaughter, a niece who is a senior in high school and is applying for scholarships, please ask them to go to their guidance counselor and ask for a application for the Seroptimist Scholarship. 2 years ago, the first year I think it was that I was on the committee, we had something like 63 applications. Last year it was in the 40s, and so far this year we only have about 16. So we would really like to see that number come up higher. So if you know anyone, and if they have not applied, please encourage them to do so. It can be from a technical school or a traditional high school. But as long as they need the money or have the grades and the desire to further their education, we would be interested in hearing from them and taking a look at their application. The other thing is, I want to thank Kathy Keene again for coming and talking about the ordinance, and her passion for historic preservation is commendable. And the HPC will be meeting the second Tuesday of April. They still are not meeting in person, so we'll be doing another Zoom meeting as their chairperson is still out of state. That is it for me this evening, and I'm going to pass it on to Councilmember Robertson.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Zinner. Councilmember Robertson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members, city staff, ladies and gentlemen here and at home. Just a couple things. Number one is this past Friday, the American Legion had its Good Friday Fish Fry, and I just want to thank everybody that came out to support that. It was a very fruitful event. It was our first event that we did indoors in over a year. We had to move it indoors. We had originally planned to do it outside, but with the cold weather and the cold snap there, we moved it inside, and folks were still able to get their stuff to go, you know, if they didn't want to be inside. So I just really appreciate everybody coming out and supporting that. Also, this is National Assistant Principal Week, and I know I saw some stuff out there on social media. I just want to give the assistant principal, Miss Gasdia, at Havre de Grace Elementary. It's my son's assistant principal. I want to give her a shout out. She's a phenomenal woman. They have nothing but the best staff there at Havre de Grace Elementary. Speaking of elementary schools, there is a school boundary discussion coming up April 14th at 5 p.m. With the Havre de Grace Elementary School PTA. I believe that's going to be via their Facebook. I'm not sure how they're planning to do that, but it's a virtual event. So, you know, if you're interested in learning about what Hartford County is doing as far as boundary or redistricting, I don't know if it would be called redistricting or just boundary reassessment. I've never been through this process before, so I plan to attend and learn. You know, that affects most of us here, I'm sure. And finally, the Economic Development Advisory Board will be meeting April 21st at 4 p.m. I haven't heard if that's going to be a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting, but I will keep everybody abreast at the next council meeting. And also, big shout out to Susquehanna Hose Company for their ISO rating. It's absolutely amazing what volunteer organization can do. And you know, if you're ever out there on Union and you hear the siren go, you'll see half a dozen men just run, and men and women run to the fire station, you know, with their phones in their hands. So it's really cool. I've seen them in action in my own neighborhood just recently in the last 2 months with a house fire. So it's amazing what they do. Very professional. As the mayor said, I mean, they really take the time to learn how to use that equipment. I mean, you would never guess that these are volunteers. I mean, guys that I know, you know, that are out on the scene and, you know, we joke with and stuff, completely professional mannerisms and all while they're there. It's just really amazing to see. So just another feather in the cap of Havre de Grace. Again, this is a city that really thrives on volunteers. So if anyone's out there and is able-bodied and might consider helping out with the Susquehanna Hose Company, please join up with them. If you can't and you want to support them, they're always looking for donations. As the mayor said, it's a volunteer organization, so please support them all you can. Hit up their pit beefs on Saturdays, all that good stuff. Mr. Mayor, I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. I'd like to go on business from Councilmember Martin.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, citizens. I also echo the support of the Susquehanna Hose Company and everything they do for the citizens, as well as the volunteers that come out to serve on our commissions and boards. When we talk about the weather's getting warmer and we're worried about pedestrians, and when you start cutting your grass, try not to throw it into, have it discharged into the roadway. You have pedestrians, but you have bicyclists and motorcycles. And when that gets wet, it actually acts almost like an ice for those type of vehicles, and it could cause an accident. So a little caution, a little help. Please, when you're cutting the grass, take the time and cut it away from the roadway to help protect our cyclists and motorcyclists. And then thanks to all the people that came out both March 6th and March 27th to support the veterans and Joseph L. Davis Post 47 American Legion riders in their soft goods collection. They raised over $1,000 for support of our veterans during those two events. So I want to thank all the citizens that came out for that. It was very important. With that, Mr. Mayor, everyone have a good night.
Thank you, Councilmember Martin. Councilmember Ringsacher, good evening.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my son was super excited tonight because this is the first time in like a year he got to come to council, and he comes to most of them with us. He just left. His mother said it was too late for him to stay out. But he likes to wear his scout uniform when he comes, and he just made second class, so I'm very proud of him for that. I'm very proud of my daughter's troop for the entire troop making their bronze award, and right now they're working on their silver, so that's pretty cool. For football, everybody keeps on asking me, when are we going to have football signups? By now, we've already had our last sign up, and we're setting up teams and everything. We're still working on, waiting for the plan from Harford County Public Schools, because that's how we set our rec program on our ability to have games and a few other things. So we're just waiting for the ducks to fall in a row, but we will be having football coming up, probably starting the last weekend of July. So make a plan. So I got to go last week with Councilmember Martin and Council President Glenn to tour the Harbor of Grace Recovery Center. Ken Byers is doing a fabulous job there. I'm sure you're going to speak more on it. Okay, I'm not going to go any more detail, but had a great time going out there. Like to echo everybody else's congratulations for the hose company. I love going up there for their pit beef. I really wish they'd run a second grill, though, because they always run out. That just shows you the support of the community. Everybody can't wait to get there. Congratulations to Miss McKay. I'd like to recognize her for Assistant Principals Week. I didn't even know, but I'm good friends with her, and she's helping me with, my kids are struggling with this virtual learning. So they're like me, I'm all over the place. But they're going back to school this week, so make sure you're watching out for kids in the morning and the evening, walking out there, all the buses, be careful, and just be careful, watch the kids. And if anybody's interested about the information about the redistricting, the website address is HCPS, as in Harford County Public Schools. Let me move closer so you can hear me. Harford County Public Schools, so hcps.org/community/balancing enrollment. Pretty simple, hcps.org/community/balancing enrollment. And as Councilmember Robertson said, it'll be Wednesday, April 14th, from 5 till 8 p.m., and the information is all on that webpage. So make sure you go there, voice your concerns, tell the administrators as much information as you can. I have been in contact with our council representative, Curtis Beulah, and the council president, the county council president, Pat Vincenti. They both spoke with Dr. Bolson for me, and to express our concerns about some possible redistricting plans for our students here in Havre de Grace. So make sure you're reaching out to the right people. Sonia Karwacki is our school board representative for this area. Reach out to her. Make sure Havre de Grace kids go to Havre de Grace schools. Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Councilmember Ringsacher. Appreciate your comments, sir. We're going to go business from Council President Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too want to personally congratulate the Parks and Rec Department for the annual Easter egg hunt. Kids had a blast. And like we said, it didn't take the kids long to find over 5,000 eggs. When you figure they found 5,000 eggs in less than 2 minutes, that's pretty impressive. But that day I got to talk a little bit to Pete Green. Anybody that knows Pete Green probably knows his sister, who was Miss Karen Green, a longtime volunteer at Parks and Rec. Halloween and Easter egg hunt was her claim to fame, and she passed away, and she wasn't there this year, but she was sorely missed, and I know she was there in spirit. So, Miss Karen, we were thinking about you. I left the Easter egg hunt and rode by House 1 because the Chiefs softball team was having a car wash. And when it comes to fundraising efforts and kids, I mean, I try to support any way I can. When it comes to kids washing cars, we don't expect them to be professionals. We don't expect a number one job, but I got to tell you, they did a remarkable job. My car was almost spotless when I left there. So to the girls, you did a great job. It was an awesome effort. I hope you raised a lot of money. And this year, I wish you guys nothing but the best. Ernest Burke statue, we met with the stakeholders, to include Ms. Cammy, to talk about the location of the Ernest Burke statue. It's going to be a pleasant addition to Tidings Park. I got to tell you that once that statue goes up, it's going to be a Kodak moment where you go up, you get your picture taken, and the backdrop of where you stand in the statue with the water as a backdrop, it's going to be awesome. And we're going to make a lot of photographs, probably on Facebook, once it's all said and done. So stay tuned because, it'll soon be here. Like Jimmy said, we went to Harbor Grace for a tour. I got to say, Ken Byer and his staff are absolutely remarkable. And what they do is their focus is on first responders, whether it's police officers, whether it's firefighters, whether it's EMTs. He helps them out in their recovery. It could be drug addiction, it could be alcohol, it could be depression, it could be an individual that maybe lost a limb and that's struggling through that process. And they're there, the patients are from all over. He just said they signed a contract with the city of Chicago and the city of Philadelphia. There was people there from Alaska, people there from California. Remarkable. We got to meet one gentleman there, and he was due to be released Thursday. We were there on a Tuesday. He was due to be released on a Thursday.
Going back to Oregon.
And I got to tell you, yeah, he was going back to Oregon, and I got to tell you, you could not wipe the smile off his face. I mean, and when he first got there, he was going through some tough times, but the remarkable job that Ken and his staff does, I mean, it was nothing short of impressive. So Ken and the staff out there at Harbor Grace, thank you for all you do. Warrior Proud moments. At the last council meeting, I talked about Gavin Lloyd. Gavin was going to the wrestling championships in Ocean City. He was going to represent Havre Grace. And I'm extremely proud to report he finished fourth. And he finished fourth in what I think was the toughest weight bracket in the entire tournament. That weight bracket had state champions upon state champions from not only Class 1A schools, which is what he comes from, the small school, one of the small schools in the state, to 2A, to 3A, to 4A, and private schools. And along his journey in that tournament, he pinned a former state champion to move up. So finishing fourth was a tremendous accomplishment, such a tough age bracket. Gavin, you really represented Havre Grace well. He's going to be attending Roanoke College next year. He's going to be wrestling for them. And yes, their colors are maroon. So Warrior Proud. Little League tryouts are this week. As a longtime Little League coach, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I want to send my thoughts out to Curtis Beulah and his wife Jean. They've been having some medical issues here of late, and we wish them nothing but the best and a speedy recovery. And last but certainly not least, I too want to give a shout out to Susquehanna Hose Company. and congratulate them on the ISO rating of 1, which the mayor alluded to. When you think it places Susquehanna Hose Company in the top 1% of the country, we are so fortunate to have them in our backyard. The mayor said that only 3 in the entire state has got an ISO rating of 1. Annapolis, City of Baltimore, Susquehanna Hose Company. But the key thought there is City of Baltimore and Annapolis are both paid. We are the only volunteer company in the entire state to have an ISO rating of 1. That's impressive. That's really, it goes to talk about the tireless dedication, the selfless service to the men and women of Susquehanna Hose Company. So to Scotty Hirsch, to President Miller, to all the men and women, thank you so much for your service. And I'm going to encourage every resident to call your homeowners, because you just might get a price reduction on your insurance premium. All it takes is just asking the question. Not every insurance company is the same, but I would say just ask the question and see, maybe, just maybe, you'll get a tax break. The men and women of Susquehanna Hose Company are the true unsung heroes. They're the unsung heroes in this community that make a difference. And when, like the mayor said, they're one of the fastest, they are the fastest in the country. And I mean, I know when the whistle goes off, I can hear the monitor at my house when they get alerted. And it's amazing how quick they're on the route, how quick they're out. And I know I had some neighbors once talk about that, you know, sometimes the trucks go a little fast through the neighborhoods. And my question to them is, was the lights blinking? Was the siren going? And they said yes. And I said, well, chances are it was an emergency. And if that emergency was at your house and you're on the second floor, your kids are on the second floor and they're trapped, do you want them to take their time? The answer is no. So for communities, when you hear the whistle, when you hear the trucks, just encourage your kids, get out of the street. Trucks are coming, and they're coming for a reason. They're coming to save property, they're coming to save lives. So I would encourage every resident of Havre de Grace, if you run into somebody from Susquehanna Hose Company, whether it's at the grocery store, whether it's a church, whether it's a ball field, just thank them for their service, because they're doing it as volunteers. And I got to tell you, the amount of time that they put, when you see the amount of training hours they put in, outside of just going to a fire call, it's impressive. And so, again, Susquehanna Hose Company, you guys are the best. Thanks for being in our community. And Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you very
Not
much,
yet.
Council President. We're going to go on to item number 19, comments from citizens. If you are in the audience and there's something you wish to, any kind of city business you wish to talk about that was not on the agenda, now's the time to be recognized. Does anybody in the audience wish to speak? Mr. Seipel, did we receive any letters from the public?
No, Mayor, we have no electric transmissions.
Okay. No comments. We're going to move on to item number 20, which is going to be a motion to move into closed session. I'm going to refer that to the council president.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the Opens Meeting Act, General Provision Article 3-305, I move that council go to closed session on Monday, April 5th, 2021, to consider the following. Personnel matter. Consultation with council to discuss and evaluate a specific individual for employment with the city. This meeting will be closed under the General Provisions Article, Section 3-305, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction. Any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. The reason for closing the meeting are the discussion surrounding the employment or appointment of a specific individual to include the consideration of the person's competencies and adequacy to perform the job under consideration. Disclosure of such information regarding a potential employee is sensitive and is entitled to confidentiality. Mr. Mayor, as we enter closed session, we don't plan on coming back to the dais to discuss or vote. So, once I get a second on my motion and we move forward, we can adjourn.
Okay, so this is a non-voting matter, so we will not be reconvening because there's no action taken.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I have a motion, council, I have a motion by the council president to go into closed session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Ringsager. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion to go into closed session carries 5-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, Council President. We're going to take us to item 21, which is adjournment. Council, to have a motion to adjourn? Motion by the council president, seconded by Councilmember Martin. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion to adjourn carries 5-0 in the affirmative. The time is now 9:36. I call adjournment and closure to the April 5th, 2021 council meeting. Thank you very much, everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.